What is going on, everyone? Welcome to yet another episode of the Schoch Factor Podcast, where I am joined by the top Roon dog of all the Roon dogs, Coach Rooney. Coach Rooney, you're in Boston. You're in the hotel, shacking it up again. How are you doing this week?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm vibes on send good vibes on the internet for the hotel because you never know. But the fabulous Rune Dogs were still scouting. Had a wonderful day. Saw on Twitter that my old college coach Pat Murphy is going to be the new manager of the Brewers, and I kind of didn't expect that. I just figured he would get. I don't know. It's like you sometimes it's safer to think the negative outcome and then be pleasantly surprised, and that's what I was. So yeah, cool day. Yeah, no complaints from Coach Rooney today. We'll take this day all day long.
The pipeline from knowing Mike Rooney to becoming manager of the Brewers is just ever growing. The actual whole reason behind this podcast is so one day I can manage the Brewers, I
You're on
believe.
track.
Yeah, because you played with Craig Counsell, right?
Yeah, Stephen, I think about this. So my 4 years in Notre Dame, there was five of us that played all 4 years, and I'm very proud. Like I am proud of all my teammates. I love all my teammates, like you do too. But in my class, like that's special. We were there together for 5 years, and so Pat Murphy was our coach, and that was epic. Craig Counsell, manager of the Cubs now. Corey Mee was the head coach at University of Toledo. Now he's an assistant coach at Western Michigan. Joe Binkowitz is a doctor, Dr. Binkowitz. Danny Bouch, my roommate, investment banker. And then, I've outdone them all. I'm co-hosting the Schoch Factor podcast. So, deal with that, people.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. You essentially got a whole Rotary Club, just any service you'd ever need. I feel like you have a connection to it
That's a good
from
point.
that class. But, but getting right into it, you texted me that you wanted to start off this episode with a bit of a story, and I've been
Yes.
on the edge of my seat waiting for this. So,
Okay. So, Stephen, I apologize if you've already heard this one because I have told this story before, but like I said, in all seriousness, my heart is full today to see our coach Pat Murphy be named coach of the Brewers. He has had this incredible career. He's got 1,000 college wins. He was fired from Arizona State in 2009 around Thanksgiving, right around this time. Actually, it's crazy to think about that. And he in theory he was going to coach at Arizona State forever and win national titles, and he had to start his career over in professional baseball. And I remember Murph was very animated and almost like a football coach. And I remember back in the day, people would zing him and say, "Oh, that would never work in pro ball, blah blah blah." And he's been in professional baseball now. This is going to be his 15th season coming up, and for him to get a chance to manage the big leagues, he got to do an interim manager job with the Padres, but like to get like a real shot like this, um, Coach Murphy was controversial. He was awesome in a million different ways. I loved playing for him, but I always tell the story. He was that coach, Stephen, where really challenging when you played for him, but do anything when when you're gone, and my whole broadcasting career is compliments of Coach Murphy. Like you and me being on this podcast. When in 2005 I had left coaching, back then it was pre-college baseball on TV all the time in the regular season. We'd get one game per year on TV. Arizona State versus Arizona. It would be on Fox Sports Arizona, and the game was going to be played in Tempe. I'm not coaching anymore. I'm just a normal schmo, and Murph calls the Fox Sports Arizona television people and he says, "Hey, I've got your analysts for this year's game." And the TV people are like, "Coach, great to hear from you. That's awesome. That's actually not how it works. Coaches don't pick the announcers. The television company picks the announcers. But we appreciate your input, and yeah." And Murph's like, "Okay, great. So it's Mike Rooney. He's going to be the analyst, and just really excited for that. And you just tell me what details I need to give Runes, and done." And and again, like they're reiterating, "Coach, like that's not like you don't get to pick the announcer." And Murph's just like, "This is going to be awesome." Like he's just not having it, right? Like they're politely telling him this is not how this works. You're not picking the analyst, and he's politely telling them you don't understand. I am picking the analyst. I have picked the analyst. His name is Mike Rooney, and this conversation will be over as soon as you say back to me, Mike Rooney is the analyst. And Steven, like, he just would not take no. And so then I get to do that game, and this is 2005, and now I have a television reel. I have a VHS tape of me broadcasting a baseball game on television that I can send to ESPN, that I can send to any other company. And you know how this goes. Like, until you get that first game and you have a recording of it, every entity is going to say, Steven, great. You sound really interesting. Send us a tape, right? And so what's everybody say? Like, well, that's the whole point. I don't have a tape. I got nothing to. So anyway, I owe that to Murph. It was vintage Murph, where it's just like there's always a way, and he was going to find it. And I'm so grateful for all of my experiences with Murph. I have so much gratitude, but that one is so tangible to me. And for him to be named manager of the Brewers today, again, my cup is absolutely full today.
No, that's awesome. I had never heard that story. I didn't know that's how you got your foot in the door with broadcasting, but you're absolutely right. Like, the amount of people I talk to, because, I've been looking to do broadcasts from time to time just because I think it's fun and it's one of the few things I really know in this life. And every time it was just like, well, have you done it before? And it was, no. But after this one, yeah, I will have.
Once you hire me, I will have done it. Yes,
yeah,
correct.
it's like, just trust me for like 3 hours. I got you. But no, that's so cool. And like, that's one of the great things about college coaches. I feel like that after you're done with your time with the program, like, they still want to have a way to impact your life. And to have a coach do it in that way, in a way that snowballs into a world where we get squeeze play at the end of the year. I am thankful for Pat Murphy as well.
Oh, he's the greatest. I have so many Murph stories. I'm gonna save other Murph stories for other podcasts, for other episodes for us. But yes, he was like Pat Murphy coming into our lives, for Craig Counsell, for all of us. What a blessing. What a wild, unique, once in a lifetime blessing.
It's just so cool. And you're talking about your heart being very full. And of course, this weekend actually was a weekend where my heart was very full because I got the ultimate college baseball experience, which was going to a college baseball wedding. Now,
Oof, love it.
I don't mean that in terms of it was themed for college baseball. It was one of my former teammates who, I was surprised I got invited because I cashed in a lot of his runs on the mound. I did not WOB for him when I should have, but
Never wobbed for him, like never once.
I did on
But
in
there
some
were
circumstances
there were
in
some fumbled
Omaha.
wobs.
In Omaha, I think I
Uh,
contributed to to the mess a little bit more, but
got it.
I wanted to talk about it just because I think that is probably my favorite externality of playing college baseball. There's so many great things, but a college baseball wedding, I looked at my wife and I was like, this is just a team reunion where one of our friends kisses a girl in front of us a bunch of times. And like, that's to bog it down, but in the simplest of terms, like, I was seeing guys I hadn't seen in 3 or 4 years, and just like getting to be around the guys again, it legitimately, like, I can't think of a better way to describe it. Of course, like, it was really cool, like, seeing your teammates, like, emotional over another guy
Sure.
making this decision, and like just all the happiness that was there for him. But I think just the greatest part, it's just such a good excuse to reconnect. It's honestly a class reunion at typically some wedding venue where you're gonna have a great time. But this one, of course, I was fired up to see all my teammates, and it was for Zach Messenger. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
bad to put out someone's name. I don't know about how to do it publicly, but that's who was getting married. It's public information. You can Google it. But anyway, so he's with the Yankees right now, and he invited some of his friends from affiliate ball. And Coach Rooney, I had the great fortune to meet a gentleman by the name of Brandon Beck at this wedding, which I was not expecting to happen. I think you might be muted, Coach.
Oh, Brendan Beck, the pitcher from Stanford, right-handed pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
He
my gosh, all-time great.
so it was very funny. He comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, I'm Brandon Beck." And like it took me a second because of course it was a little bit into the night. I had some juices flowing. I was feeling good. And I was taken back because, I know of Brandon Beck. I know of the name, or Brendan Beck. I know of the name. And I also played high school ball with a Brandon Beck. So that's why I'm going to get the names mixed up between Brendan and Brandon.
Makes
But
sense.
but I was like, oh my goodness, wait a minute. And he goes, yeah, I also didn't pitch too good in Omaha. And I was like, oh my goodness, okay, yes. And so it was very funny because me and him both got to reflect on that because he was like, I don't mean to be rude, but sometimes when I was thinking back, I was like, hey, at least I wasn't the guy who came in and gave up the home run. And
Oh
I
no.
went, no, this is great because sometimes I was like, hey, at least it could like I didn't do the wild pitch, and like we both just laughed really hard about it. But I think my favorite part about it was my wife, who was my girlfriend back when I was in Omaha, met Brandon's girlfriend, who was his girlfriend in Omaha too. And they got to talk about the struggles of dating a closing pitcher. And
Ooh.
it was just A plus, banter about college baseball and insight as to what college baseball looks like just from, you know, like Francesca, she was like, it was like the worst moment ever. And, as players, we aren't really results focused most of the time. It's all process, it's all preparation. And so, like, for me, it was like, okay, well, I prepared well. Tanner just hit a home run off me. That's fine. That happens.
Yeah.
But they, like, listening to them talk about the stress that we put them through just from us not even realizing it most of the time on the mound was just great stuff. So if you're ever fortunate enough to play college baseball, just know that when it's all over, you don't have to be all doom and gloom because 2 to 3 years from now, you're going to be sitting at a college baseball teammate's wedding and it's like the best time ever.
Oh, no question. And in fairness, Stephen, to you and Brendan Beck, who are two of my all-time favorite college baseball pitchers, that 2021 Omaha was one of my favorite College World Series experiences. The teams were amazing, and Chris Newell, who was at your wedding, was there, and so there was a big Malvern Prep Newtown Edgemont contingent. But we didn't have an Omaha in 2020, right? So it made 2021 so special, and neither Virginia nor Stanford are in that College World Series without you and Brendan Beck. I mean, that Stanford team had to go to Texas Tech and win a super regional on the road. And I mean, obviously what you did in the postseason and getting up to that point. And I'll tell you a quick story, Stephen, about Brendan Beck. You know how we do those D1 baseball predictions for series? Did Brendan Beck tell you this story?
He filled me in on it, but go ahead and tell it because I
Yeah.
was about to bring it up.
So real quickly, his last year at Stanford, they were going up to play Oregon, and they had started to struggle a little bit for some reason. And I picked Stanford. I just had a gut feeling. And of the 9 of us, I was the only one that picked Stanford. And so they go up there and they win the series from Oregon. It's Sunday afternoon, and I am in my car. I'm driving to the store to get something for my wife, and I get a call from Thomas Eager, the pitching coach at Stanford, and I'm like, man, this is really weird that I'm getting a call from a pitching coach on Sunday afternoon. And I'm thinking, man, what did I say? Did I say something dumb? What did I do? What did I tweet? You start to panic, and I say, Coach Eager, how are you? And he goes, hey, can I give Brendan Beck your phone number? And I'm like, oh, crap. Now I really did something wrong. And I'm like, yes, why? What? And he goes, the boys are jacked up that you picked them and you were the only person that picked them. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys are really looking at that stuff. So I got the coolest text from Brendan Beck about how pumped they were that I picked Stanford. And I mean, it was so cool. And he's just a rock star. Like, he's a big leaguer for sure to me.
Oh yeah, he's an incredible pitcher, and so he told me about that, and he goes, we still aren't really sure if he picked us because he believed in us or because he was just so far behind in points it was kind of like a Hail Mary, but either way we were pumped up about
We'll take
it.
it. Oh, it's so great. It was probably the latter, but who cares now?
No, it was just so much fun, and just reflecting on the moments was really funny. He was like, now every now and again I'll catch myself. He was talking to me about it and like the wild pitches, and he goes, every now and again I'll catch myself like in warm ups playing catch. I just throw like a perfect curveball, and I'm like, yeah, I still got it. All right, we'll keep
Nice.
going. It's
That
like
is great.
that's just the perfect kind of crazy you got to be a high level pitcher, and
Amen. That's
and
right.
I loved it. And then so wrapping up that wedding was in the Richmond area. So of course, doing the college baseball tours, I was able to stop by the University of Richmond, and let me tell you, Coach Rooney, I am very excited just about the direction that program is heading. Do you know much about Richmond? It's one of the schools I'm super familiar with just because I'm in the area all the time.
Private school, right? Like not super massive. Is that right?
Yeah, private school, not the biggest school, but honestly, like one of the prettiest campuses I've ever seen in my life. Like
I
I
believe it.
I remember when I was in high school, I would play like summer ball and showcase tournaments at Richmond's field, and I loved it. Like it was a great field. The way it's set up, it's kind of carved into a hill with the basketball arena past the right center wall, I would say, and then there's a
Hmm.
big parking lot, which is really good for tailgates, and the parking lot like overlooks the field. And then if you go past the field, like down the third base, past the third baseline, they have this beautiful lake. It's just very scenic. Like it's one of the only bullpens I've been in college that has a lake view, which it's just elite stuff. You really can't beat it. But I was able to kind of take a look behind the scenes there, which I was really excited to do because, with my tours so far, I've been going to a bunch of schools that have invested money in baseball, and they're at the point where the school sees baseball can kind of be profitable. It's kind of leaning that way. So let's start investing in it. But this is one of the good old schools that's like probably most other D1 schools in the sense that the baseball team's sharing a lot of their athletic facilities with other sports, which I think is a dynamic that doesn't get talked about a lot in college sports. So I was really excited to see how they do all that, and they do spend a lot for athletics at Richmond. Like it's definitely something where it's not we don't have the money. It's just where they allocate it right now. They're focused on the teams that have brought them a lot of attention in the past. So that's all
Hmm.
normal. And I'm not saying this to knock them in any way, but it was just so cool and so refreshing to see, okay, this is our weight room, but it's also lacrosse's weight room. It's also soccer or whatever other sports on, like it's the football weight room too. And so it's massive, but it's nice. And it was just really cool to get a look down there.
That's awesome. When I was at Notre Dame, Stephen, this was before the new stadium, we shared a locker room with the lacrosse team who are still some of my closest friends from Notre Dame. It was kind of awesome. They were complete animals. Um, so yeah, I think that's a cool part of the experience. I don't hate that part. Like the only thing I don't like about sharing things is I don't like 5 a.m. weightlifting. Like that is just colossally dumb to me. Like you can barely open your eyes, but now I'm going to get stronger. No, I'm not. I'm going to lift terribly and go back to bed and probably not go to class, right? Like if I'm being honest. So but other than that, I think interacting with the other sports is actually it's cool. I don't hate it.
Yeah, and like I think that's another great point is like when you have all the amenities at the stadium, like it's super nice, but you don't see other athletes as much and you don't really connect with as many people on campus, I feel like, which so that's kind of, both sides of the coin. It's really convenient. You can lift anytime you want. Like when I was at UVA halfway through practice, halfway through BP, they'd just be like, "Okay, just go lift then." Because we had
Yeah.
it right there and it was super nice, but it was really refreshing just to get that like you know taste of the mid-major back of the
Yeah.
UMBC days and the App State
Go
days where
dogs.
all of it was shared. I loved it. Like it was so much
Yeah.
fun. So it was really cool to go ahead and see that.
And that's a cool school. And Mick Aoki, I think, he's been the head coach at Boston College and he's been the head coach at Notre Dame. He's a Davidson guy. Like, I think he's the perfect hire there. I think that's a really cool place. Where I grew up in the Philadelphia area, where probably you grew up, Stephen, Richmond is a coveted school. Like that's a school that people really think highly of academically. I'll put a bow on it like with this. If you are going to have your own separate facilities, do it like South Carolina, where your weight room is so nice that you do share it because other teams are coming to your baseball weight room to use it. That's the way to do it.
That honestly, the more the merrier. That's the
Yes.
perspective I've always subscribed to. But it's just such a cool little area. They got a new setup in their beyond their right field wall. It's like a little perch between the fence and the parking lot where there's benches and a little brickyard for people to watch the game. They told us the very first day that they got installed, they had to kick skateboarders out,
Oh
which
my gosh.
honestly, part of me wants to go install benches in random places and see if skateboarders will come because I think skateboarding's sick. But you don't want to
That's
scratch
amazing.
the new benches. They said they're looking to install lights too, which is something they're kind of leaning on some donors to do, but they've finally been making some waves with, raising that money. So I'm excited for the future with that program.
Love it.
Now, I wanted to kind of move along and get into a topic of the first baseball we're going to see come springtime, which is the preseason out of conference baseball. It's a weird time, and it's a time where I feel like you can learn a lot about coaches and kind of just their thoughts on their teams because I always viewed it this way. If a really good team schedules a really easy team week one, that is a confidence booster for their team. It's either they got a young team that, it can be an established team. Sometimes these schedules are made way in advance. But I always kind of saw it as, okay, we got a young team. We got a lot of new guys that need to get their feet wet. Let's do it in an environment where, you can get their confidence up. Coach Rooney, is that something you ever thought of? Like just between scheduling the hard teams early or kind of leaning into what you're going to do college baseball wise?
Yeah, I think, man, I'll tell you, Steven, scheduling is one of the worst jobs in college baseball and in college sports. I remember one year when we were at Arizona State, Coach Murphy, like he was really good about delegating and giving out responsibility. And he said, Runes, you're going to be in charge of the schedule. And literally a year and a half
Oof.
later, Uncle, I said, Coach, I was so embarrassed, but I was like, I got to do this or I'm going to just die. I said, Coach, I can't do the schedule anymore. I can't. Like it was so bad. It was so awful. Like you get a yes, then it's a no, then you finally get a school to say yes, and then I go back to Murph and he's like, I changed my mind. It was like running a dating app. It was so bad. It was so terrible. So I don't remember your question, Steven, but I will tell you this, that now in our world, scheduling, this is one of my favorite things to do, is schedules are coming out now, right? And at some point in the next 30 to 45 days, I will get a new note on my notes app on my phone, and I will put in the first 5 weekends of the season, and I will put all the places that I could potentially go. And living in Arizona, we're lucky. Like we'll have a surprise tournament, Arizona State, Arizona, Grand Canyon. There might be some of these events in Texas, and that is the most fun. Is just like creating my own college baseball menu and then thinking about where I could potentially go. Maybe I go to California. I mean, oh man, that is good living right there.
No, that sounds like an absolute blast. And it sounds like you are on the fun side of scheduling now. You have made it past
Yes.
the sifting
180
through.
degrees. Yes.
Yeah, I always so my freshman year at App State, I took a class that was taught by the former athletic director. I don't remember the name of the class. It was probably sports marketing. But he was talking and he was like, yeah, every year I would ask the coach at the start of the season, are we young this year or old this year? And if we were young, it was like, okay, we're going to schedule the worst team we could find. If they're old and established, it's like, okay, we'll schedule someone who's kind of the same caliber, kind of test out what we got. But I just love the pre-conference play because it's kind of all rules are thrown out the window. It's the time where it's fu we ball or fu we do not ball, um, which I think it's such a beautiful time. But kind of leaning into you making your menu, I want to give you a challenge here where I'm going to
Yes.
list out a few of the preseason kind of out of conference tournaments that are going on in the first couple of weeks of college baseball.
Okay.
And now these aren't all coinciding the same weekend, so it is possible to make it to multiple. But I want to do this hypothetical where you only have one tournament you can go to, one
Uno.
ticket to ride out
Okay.
of these, out of five. So
Okay.
the first one is going to be Round Rock, where you
Okay.
have Kentucky, Kansas, Washington State, and Texas State.
Okay.
So for this one, I like it because a lot of the mascots kind of align with each other. I could see these mascots fighting. We got a lot of cats, one bird. That's
Yeah.
important to note. Will the bird come out on top? Huge for the avian population.
Yeah. That bird better get airborne fast. I don't, because cats got a little elevation too. Like they can get airborne too. That I don't like the bird's chance. Jayhawk does have a little hawk in them, but I love that tournament. I don't like the Jayhawks' chances.
I'm with you. I'm with you. So the next one we got, and this is one I think is going to just be so cool. I think it's cool every year. It's the Astros Foundation Classic, where
Ooh,
this year they have LSU, Vanderbilt, Texas, Texas State, the University of Houston, and the University of Louisiana at Lafayette.
wow. Okay.
So that one, of course, a few more teams, but
LSU and
just
Vandy. Plus, it's indoors, so you get, it's at Minute Maid, right? So you
mm-hmm.
know you have no weather issues. That is very attractive.
Plus, I love all the highlights from that tournament. I remember 2 years ago there was the Ivan Melendez home run that
Mm-hmm.
was hit there. It was the loudest home run I think I've ever seen a recording of. But it came at a perfect time because the MLB lockout was going on, and everyone was like, "Man, I missed baseball highlights." And it was like, "Okay, here's a baseball highlight in an MLB stadium of a guy hitting the train tracks in Houston." Super cool.
Super great. Give me all the Ivan Melendez.
He's so good. I miss him so much in college baseball, but I hear he's doing well.
Yes, he is.
So next up, we have the Jacksonville College Baseball Classic, which all of these, of course, are classic. It's
Yes.
none of the new ones, all classic. This one, of course, is going to have Virginia, Iowa, Auburn, and Wichita State.
Yes. This one, I'm so glad you put this on the menu, Stephen, because this is one that, like Round Rock, this is one of our good friends at Peak events, Ryan Holloway and Nathan Woolridge. They're doing 5 tournaments this year. Last year they did Round Rock and they did Frisco. This year they're going to do 5. Jackson is, they're calling it the Jax Classic, which is a cool name. This is going to be one of their 5 that they're doing this year. And I mean, man, Iowa, Wichita State under Brian Green now, Virginia's awesome, Auburn's awesome. This one is going to be hard to beat.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I don't really see a world where I don't end up at that one. It's
Yeah,
just too many teams I like in one
you're
place.
there. You are absolutely there. You might as well go there now. Just wait.
Yeah, just camp it out, talk to the jumbo shrimp, see if I can get in. If not, I'm sure I can hop a fence. It'll be
Yeah,
okay.
you're in. You're in like Flynn.
Now, next up, we got the Frisco Classic, which is Alabama. Then we got Arizona, Indiana, and Dallas Baptist, which I feel like those are all teams that year after year have been on the cusp of being Omaha caliber. It's like every year it comes down to the wire for them of, okay, we're going to be the team this year. And I think this year it's gonna be a year for at least one of these teams. Like I can imagine seeing at least one of these teams in Omaha.
You said Indiana's going to that one, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good team. Remember Indiana last year in the Lexington Regional, and they were a lot of freshmen and sophomores. They were kind of young, but so when they got into that regional, I was like, that's good. You young team, get your feet wet in a regional. Next thing you know, they're pressing Kentucky bad. Like they had Kentucky on the ropes. Now Kentucky answered the bell big time, but yeah, that's a really good one. And again, the 5 peak events tournaments, Round Rock, the Jax Classic, Frisco, which you've got on here. They're also going to do one in Vegas, and they're also going to have one in Sugarland. But anyway, what I love about these tournaments, Stephen, is you've got 4 really good teams, a regional format. You've got, really awesome facilities. They don't do these in terrible facilities. They do them in awesome facilities. And the peak event guys run first class tournaments. Like, it's going to be, just super well run. So, man, the Jax Classic is my favorite in the clubhouse right now, but that Frisco one is very tempting. I was at that one last year. It was awesome.
Yeah, and I feel like not enough people talk about the winner of the Carbach Round Rock Classic last year. Ended up winning a few other tournaments as well, such as, I don't know, the College World Series. That experience doesn't just fizzle out. It means something. And to be able to win in these environments, you're right, with that regional setup, is such a good precursor for a lot of these teams when it's like, okay, now we are in a regional and the stakes are higher, but we've played in this format before, which I just think is so valuable for teams to have that experience.
Yeah. By the way, Stephen, you used the word externality earlier in the podcast. That's an A plus. You've already used the Phillips. What was it? What's the economic principle?
The Phillips curve.
The Phillips curve was a couple podcasts ago, and then oh man, you just did something else very, very smart. What was it? Was it a word? I lost my train of thought on
Oh gosh,
externality.
I got stuck on externality
Oh,
as well. If
Carbach.
I'm
You nailed Carbach.
Carbach.
Yeah,
Oh
like
yeah, a
that's an
lot of
impossible word.
practice.
That's an impossible word to pronounce. And yeah, so all four of those teams should have been regional teams last year. Kansas State was the only team that got left out, and they absolutely got jobbed. They should have been in the tournament. So you're right. That Carbach Round Rock Classic was it was a precursor to many good things in everybody's future.
Yeah, absolutely. And for the last one, I don't have much info about the Sugarland Peak event. I'm sure. Do you know who's in that one by chance?
It's not
I
like
don't.
it's like Louisiana Tech, it's Air Force. It's not, I can't tell if this is a new one or it's an old one, but it's Louisiana Tech, Air Force, Army, and Creighton. So, obviously a big armed forces type of theme
Yeah,
there.
that works though. I like
It's
that
pretty
they
cool.
stick with the themes.
I
I
do
did
too.
have the last option I had for you. Will include Sugarland as well. I just hadn't found info on it yet. But the Las Vegas Classic in Carbach, which
Yes.
of course featuring Cal. I know you're excited about that one. I saw your
Yeah.
tweet fired up about it. And they have Ohio State, Oklahoma, and Pitt.
Man, that is a tough call. I would say, Steven, give me Vegas because I've not been to that park there. It's a drive for Coach Rooney. You know how I feel about Cal, Caleb Lomavita, their catcher, and RJ Green, their center fielder. Both are top 50 picks. Send me to Vegas, please, Steven.
I'm with you. I think I'm gonna try to do that same sales pitch to Kendall and KP, see if we can swing it, because that seems like a really cool one to be at. I believe it's in. I think it's first weekend of March, which I feel like I've never been to Vegas, but I feel like that's not too warm. It's not like peak go to Vegas season.
Yeah,
Again, I
it'll
still
be
don't
great.
know much about Vegas, but sounds like fun.
March in Vegas will be awesome. Steven, you know what my dream is? My dream is for the peak event guys to do a tournament every all 13 weeks of the college baseball season because we have all these teams that are left with these stupid bye weekends because of finals or uneven numbers of teams in their conference. And let's just have the peak events guys run like a cafeteria style tournament every weekend for those teams so you don't get, like I remember UCLA a couple years ago, they played UC Riverside, who was coming off a really tough year and it cratered their RPI. These tournaments, peak events does, they're RPI proof. I mean, yeah, that's my dream. My dream.
I'm right there with you. I think that more games should be played in college baseball. I realize a lot of games are already played in a short amount of time, but we can always squeeze in a couple more. Just expand the roster size a little bit. Also, fully fund everybody. Unlimited scholarships, too, while we're at it, while we're making these up. And you
Amen.
can have four starting pitchers easily.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I'm in. Sold.
Look, they just need to give us the keys to the NCAA after this whole lawsuit thing's done. I don't want that on my hands. Again, still, I don't know anything going on in it. I don't think any progress has been made yet. But oh, I did wanna make one comment while we're on the topic, and shout out the NCAA for doing a good thing, which is they passed a bill that for 2 years prior or 2 years post performance. You get health insurance from the NCAA for any injury that you sustained as being a student athlete,
That's really
which
cool.
super cool. I was critical of the NCAA last week, but if you're going to be critical, you can also be good critical and
Yeah.
speak positively sometimes. So I wanted to give them that, throw them
Well
that bone
done.
because that's cool.
Yeah, really cool. I like it, Stephen. Well played.
Yeah, I mean, two sides to every coin. But
Yes.
another big thing that happened this weekend was the SEC announced that they were going to have permanent opponents where each school in the conference will have two permanent opponents for baseball that they will play each year. And Coach Rooney, I just wanted to get your opinion on this because I saw a lot of back and forth. I know Arkansas fans were very vocal about being matched with Missouri opposed to LSU. I believe they wanted the LSU Arkansas rivalry. But I wanted to ask you, would you rather have the rivalry and kind of packed house series every year? Or would you rather have, kind of an easier opponent kind of rolling into it? Because, again, from what I saw on the internet, a lot of people were like, okay, well, we'll take some easy wins, whatever. I know there's no easy wins in baseball. This is just what I'm seeing on the interwebs from every fan base. It's like
Mm-hmm.
they're kind of in this dilemma of do we take the wins or do we have the rivalry series? So, Coach Rooney, I wanted to get your opinion, see what you thought on this.
Yeah, I think I would take the easy wins because it's actually it's fake. It's a fake answer, right? Like there are no easy wins, as you said in the SEC. I will say this, Stephen, when I saw this whole schedule thing, I really couldn't even get that interested in it because it reminds me of how like the SEC had the perfect regular season in college baseball. 10 weeks, no break for finals. And I know they have 14 teams, but you're going to play 9 of the 14. And, SEC coaches will always tell us, like, who you don't play really can affect your season. Like, there are some years where you don't have to play every great team in the league. And there are other years where you just get stuck playing everybody. And now, and again, the SEC is the least mangled of all these leagues, right? But they still have 16 teams now. So think about it. You're going to play 10 teams. You're going to miss 5 of them, right? So you're not even going to play 70% of the league, and then you're going to crown a regular season champion. I'm someone that still believes regular season championships are a big deal. I mean, like there's still a clip on Twitter of Florida and Arkansas's players last year losing their minds, like they were the champs of the regular season, not LSU, who was the national champ. And so it's all a little depressing to me. It's a bad like side effect of conference realignment. But if I had to answer your question, if I was in the SEC, I would like, yeah, give me the easier teams, even though I know, like, it's basically what you're saying to me, Stephen, is would you rather get hit by a golf cart going full speed, or would you rather have an alligator bite your leg off? I mean, it's like, yeah, the golf cart, I guess.
Yeah, the golf cart gives you a chance. I'm
Right.
with you. I think it's just so interesting. Like the scheduling, you talked about scheduling being a nightmare early. This, I feel like, is going to lead to scheduling conflicts way down the road where it just doesn't make sense. Where you get random teams playing each other at times where it doesn't make sense for them to be playing each other. Like, for example, say you open with Florida one year and then you're playing them the next game, or you open with them the next year, and just things like that where it gets all wonky. And I know the SEC based these off of geography, but I kind of thought of a potential solution that, again, it might conflict with some class schedules, but if you are a college baseball player, you typically are in this position right now where all the classes can be online.
Yeah,
So we
you'll
we
figure it out.
really we'll push for the online degree. Throw your academics aside for a little bit. We're going to be athletic students, not student athletes for this segment. But
I like it.
you only schedule games or away series with opponents that have another school driving distance from them. So let's say you're LSU and you're playing Ole Miss.
Hmm.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you play a series against them. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Drive the next day. Practice at. Did I say Ole Miss to start off? Or
Yeah,
no?
you're starting in Oxford.
Okay.
Yep. So
Okay.
where we're
Start.
going next?
Then we're going to Mississippi State. We'll get there. We'll get there Wednesday.
Start
Thursday we'll
Vegas.
practice. Then we got Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then we go home for a weekend where a team is waiting to play us, and they will drive to whoever's closest to us. I think that's one way to do it, but then we get into that 162 game span where you're playing every day. Could be a little wonky. You see why I'm not in charge of scheduling.
nor if anyone ever offers it to you, Steven, don't even answer. Just run. Don't do it.
Just throw whatever's in my hand down and disappear.
Pull the fire alarm. Yes, get out.
Yeah, I just think I do not envy whoever is in charge of the SEC because people care so much that, what you decide to have for breakfast is going to cause controversy. And right. To have to schedule between 16 different schools, that's nightmare fuel.
On Elm Street.
And I tip my cap to whoever's out there doing their best while probably dealing with a lot of hate for it.
That's right. Passionate fans.
Now, Coach Rooney, this scheduling based on geography leads me to my one last kind of question, last heavy hitter question of the podcast before we get into the heavy surprise questions that we have prepared for each other.
Yes.
But this is based solely on state and solely on in-state rivalries, conference aside. Which state do you think has the most electric in-state rivalries when it comes to college baseball?
Ooh, man. Best in-state rivalry in college baseball. I think it's South Carolina and Clemson. I think those fans get after each other. They move they move it all over the state. It's awesome. I mean, Mississippi and Mississippi State is another one that comes to mind. This is a very tricky question, but just top of mind, I feel like South Carolina and Clemson. I mean, two great men like Jack Leggett and Ray Tanner were even getting in fights. I mean, it is gnarly. So yeah, give me South Carolina and Clemson.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, I had it bad when I played against Clemson, had it bad when we played against South Carolina. Adding those two fan bases together at each other's necks, that sounds like pure anarchy. I'm here for it. I love that. And just to clarify, I'm not going for the best ever. That was just a general, which ones do we like? So no one be like, oh, well, our rivalry's better. That's not what we're saying. You can have a great rivalry. Just want to address that. I realized I put Rooney in a vulnerable position there with how I phrased that. Don't want that to be the case. But I was thinking about it, and this question really came to mind because I was at Campbell, and I was like, what games, everywhere I go, I like to ask either coaches, players, or fans what game I should come back up for, like what game they think is going to be the best one. And a lot of them were like, honestly, come up for a midweek game against an in-state rival. That is when things are the craziest. And so that's what inspired me. I think North Carolina has a lot of great ones. I mean, you get Campbell, ECU, anyone playing against NC State feels like an in-state rivalry game just because that's how they handle it. But one that immediately jumps out to me is Texas and Texas State. I loved watching them just on a random Tuesday.
The Hill Country.
Giving me so much energy for no reason every Tuesday night.
Yes, that is, you're right. That as far as midweek rivalries go, that one is outstanding.
Yeah, I remember last year it was, I believe it was Levi Wells who got a save against Texas, threw up the horns down immediately. I can't remember if he won at
that was
Texas
Tristan.
State.
No, you're right. Was it Levi Wells or was it Tristan Stivers? It might have
Tristan
been both
Stivers,
of them, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there was a single person not doing a horns down, which, I mean, that is the vulnerability you put yourself in with doing the hand stuff. But hey, look, you also get to throw horns up, so there's that too.
Yeah, that's right.
I remember, it was Tristan Stivers, you're right. I can't remember if they won at Texas or won at home, but either way, wherever they did it, they threw the horns down. Everybody was going nuts. Then Texas beats them the next day. Everybody from Texas is going nuts. It is a pure rivalry, and I love it. I'm excited for those this year. I'm like, thinking about those Tuesday matchups are kind of what I'm most excited about for college
Yeah,
baseball this
I love it.
season.
That's a good one. Sneaky, awesome rivalry right there.
So good. So good. But Coach Rooney, you said you had a random question for me. Of course, our mystery question of the podcast. So if you got it ready, I'm ready
Oh
for it.
yeah. So Stephen, I need your professional opinion on this. We know that baseball players really care how they look, and I'm a believer, right? Hashtag look good, play good, right?
I'm with you.
So yeah, so I think we all subscribe to that. Here's my question for you, Stephen. How do we feel about baseball players wearing high top cleats?
I like it. I like it because
Did you ever
when
do it?
I would for the ankle support. Believe it or not, it is insurmountable the benefit. The amount of times you roll your ankle in high tops compared to low tops, it's night and day. It's like you're invincible. I remember my very first pitch I ever threw in the Cape Cod League. There was a huge divot on the mound. I was so nervous I didn't even realize it. Rolled my ankle. Very first pitch.
No.
Low top cleats. I got high top cleats after that, and I remember my when I was it was after high school but before college, that summer. So my senior year of high school summer, I played with this gentleman by the name of Jamison McGrain. He was 25 at the time, I believe, and he told me about how he rolled his ankle once his freshman year and just did ankle workouts the rest of the year and he's never rolled his ankle since, is what he said. So I thought of him after that, and I did that, and then I was like, oh well, I could also just wear high top cleats, and that kind of fixed it. But also they look really cool, which I think is something that needs to be addressed too. I just really like the way they look. I think they look clean, especially with baseball especially. It's one of the few uniforms where you can look kind of piratey or like, I mean, high level baseball players especially, they're large guys. They got
Yes.
large feet, so you kind of look like a cartoon character if you're wearing like low top cleats with that are like tied super tight because it's like a size 14 loafer you got on.
Yeah.
So when it comes to cleats, I was very specific in what I wanted and what I wanted to wear. I really liked wearing high top cleats. I also really liked wearing white cleats just because I thought I pitched better in them. Much like your
Blue jersey.
anti-blue jersey. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
was like, white cleats, La Flama Blanca, let's go. I'm with it.
Flama Blanca.
I thought it was so cool. I thought I looked way cooler. I think the first sorry, I'm giving you got me off guard on this one in a good way. I think the very first time I saw high top cleats on a pitcher, it was huge high top white Jordans on Alec Manoa in the
Ooh.
Cape Cod League, and I remember thinking, "Wow, he looked really cool." I wish I looked like that on the mound because, like, just the way he looked struck guys out from time to time. I mean, granted, throwing in the upper 90s helped. Having a big league curveball and big league command helped. But I think I was inspired by that. That was the outfit inspiration. And I was like, I want to look tough. I want to look like a bad to the bone guy on the mound. Like, let's do it.
So Stephen, what's your take on? So I'll insert my opinion in here a little bit. What's your take on high top cleats with your socks pulled up? I
Uh,
actually think it's a terrible look, but it's so bad that it might be excellent.
I think it kind of makes it look that accentuates how high the tops are,
Right.
which I think kind of makes it look like you're wearing. You ever play kickball and like have a kid go put a Timberland boot on because he thinks he'll kick it further? That's kind of
I've never played high level kickball, apparently.
it's the aluminum bat power up.
Kid's rolling his boots in the hallway, getting ready for kickball.
It did not get approved by our school nurse who was stamping the bats for the BB core testing.
That's funny.
but no, I think it looks too much like you're trying to wear like a combat boot or like
Right.
for Ronald Acuna Jr. It works because he's super fast. Like I think I'm trying to think of someone I played with who would play with high socks and high tops. I think Chris Newell would do it. He would look cool, but that's Chris Newell. Uh,
Yes.
I don't think I think I would look like a pirate, like gone wrong, if I did it. Because back when I played, my hair was long, my beard was long. It just wouldn't work for me. But I always liked Manny Ramirez's look of like the baggy pants. It's a little slobbish, but it's like, hey, I'm gonna get the job done. That
Yeah.
was kind of the vibe I was going for. Nowadays, it's a lot of like, baseball shifted to pretty tight pants, which, hey, if you got leg muscles, show them off, sure. I have kind of bird legs, so I wouldn't do it, but I'm
Right.
glad I got out of the game before it was a lot of like, hey, tight clothes are in.
I will have to say Michael Lorenzen this year, because he's a SoCal guy, he's a Fullerton guy. He wore high top Vans with cleats, and he had them specially made like the high top black Vans with
Oh,
cleats on the bottom of them, and they're just gorgeous. I mean, like that's a high top I can get up behind.
yeah. I loved watching like CC Sabathia in different Jordans that he was pitching in. I think those
Oh,
just
that's right.
look so cool. Um, Ken Griffey Jr. was another guy who his cleats, like I remember I always wore swingman cleats. I thought they'd made me hit home runs. My stat sheet, they didn't help me at all, but they looked cool. So that was definitely a good one. I'm trying to think of like my favorite cleats of all time. It's I want to
You're
say
right.
it was a
Ken
pair
Griffey
of
Jr.,
Nike
those
high
are
tops.
sweet. Those are amazing. Ken Griffey Jr., though, could wear my dad's penny loafers and make him look good in baseball. He was so good.
It's ridiculous like how much flair some guy like the wearer of the shoes adds. Like Ken Griffey has a line of shoes like just regular streetwear shoes that I've always wanted, but I know I would just look like such a doofus in because it like would accentuate my doofusness. But I there's just God, you opened a can of worms in my head that I'm gonna be texting you about cleats long until tomorrow.
Please. Love that. Can't wait.
Of just different cool ones that I've thought of or seen throughout my career.
I love it. Okay, well, this is a question that can have future, we can parlay this into future episodes. We don't have to put close the book on it tonight.
Good. So in general, I am for the high top cleats. Are you pro high top?
I am not, but I am open to uh I'm not open to them, but I don't hate them either. I guess I'm the door is halfway closed, but I'm willing to look around and see. Yeah, I'm trying to be open-minded right now.
I
The
like
high
that.
top is making a comeback in my mind. And so I'm trying to get my arms around it. Undecided.
Hashtag go tops.
Go tops. Amen.
So that's coming. I got since next week's Thanksgiving, and I believe we're going to take a break. I have a Thanksgiving inspired question for you, which is Coach Rooney,
Ooh.
do you have a favorite Thanksgiving food?
Yes. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Tacos.
Okay.
So so Jenny and I, my wife and I don't typically get to see our families for Thanksgiving. We just kind of do our own thing. And so we've tried to do Thanksgiving meals, but for two people, it's just kind of ridiculous. And so I actually make outstanding tacos. I'm not like a great chef, but I do really good tacos. So that is what I do every Thanksgiving. So like if I was doing a normal Thanksgiving with our families, like there's not a dish at Thanksgiving that I don't love. Corn, peas, bread, rolls, stuffing, cranberry sauce, like pumpkin pie, apple pie, ice cream, like yes, yes, yes. Like drinking an adult beverage at 11:30 in the morning, yes. Like
Sure.
everything about Thanksgiving, sign me up for. But for Jenny and I doing our traditional Thanksgiving tacos, absolutely love that too.
Oh my goodness. I love that. What kind of tacos do you go for? Is it just ground beef? What sort
Yeah,
of
so we
protein
do
we go?
we'll do like some type of organic grass-fed ground beef because Jenny's diet is really particular, and then we'll do the crunchy corn tacos. Got to be the crunchy
Oh,
shells, and then just a little bit of the seasoning in the ground beef when I'm, browning that up. And then we'll have some cheese, we'll have some tomato. I go really liberal with the taco sauce. I mean, really liberal with the taco sauce. Might sprinkle in some lettuce in there if I'm feeling like maybe I want to pretend to be a little bit healthy. Might even do a little guacamole as an appetizer for when I'm cooking. So yeah, we're gonna just absolutely compete. We call them the Great Irish Tacos.
That sounds phenomenal. I really want tacos right now, actually, now that you brought this up. That's funny. I'm a terrible cook. Like, the only thing I can make decently is tacos.
Amen.
It's all I can do. But I'd highly recommend just like Uncle Ben's Mexican rice. Like, or
Ooh.
I don't know if I think it's their
For the
Mexican rice.
taco? Ooh, interesting. We
Yeah,
don't do any
for
rice
the
in the
taco.
tacos, but I'm open-minded to
If
that.
if you want to substitute the lettuce for something, that kind of tastes a little bit better, that's what I do. It's either lettuce or rice for me in the tacos, and it's rarely lettuce. Lettuce does not win that war for me.
Yeah, yeah. The lettuce is like my, you know, if we're doing a 40-man roster, my lettuce is like player 39. Like he's not traveling all the time. Yeah,
He's not the Friday night taco
no,
sauce.
no,
No.
no, no. Lettuce needs to know his role.
As long as he knows his role and you effectively communicate that as a coach, that's all that matters.
See, that's the thing. I'm not even communicating with lettuce. Like he hasn't even earned. Like I'm not treating lettuce well.
He's
Yeah, I need to help him feel more included.
so what you're saying is it's June and lettuce is still in the beige blank t-shirt, has not earned the number on the back or the
No,
front yet or the logo.
lettuce
Rest
is
of the
checking
teams.
his. Yeah, he's checking his locker every day, and he needs to be because we could lose him in a heartbeat.
I love it. Well, Coach Rooney, I think with that note, I think you got to take us out.
Yes. All right, everybody. Want to remind you that college baseball is rad. We may not catch up with you until the holidays, so everyone have a great Thanksgiving, and we will catch you next time on the Schoch Factor podcast.